Chapter 19. The Day the War Began. Long before Willow Village was ever built, before the quiet paths and gentle rivers that Anna knew, the forest was a place of terrible power. Few people remembered it now, but the forest had once been the center of a war between humans and something far older than humanity itself. The story began on a morning that seemed perfectly peaceful. Mist hung between the towering trees. Birds called softly from the branches. The forest looked calm, almost welcoming. But deep underground, beneath layers of ancient stone and tangled roots, something stirred. For centuries, the creature had slept. It had been bound by ancient magic, sealed away by the first guardian and the spirits of the forest. But seals weaken with time, and that morning, the first crack appeared. Far below the earth, a deep rumbling echoed through the darkness. Roots trembled, stone cracked. Something enormous shifted in the shadows. The creature had awakened. At first, the forest tried to resist. The wind rose suddenly, whispering through the leaves. Animals fled deeper into the woods. The rivers slowed as if the land itself was holding its breath. But the creature was patient and angry. It had not forgotten the world that had imprisoned it, not the forest, and certainly not the humans. That same morning, the first guardian stood on a high ridge overlooking the valley. He had watched the forest his entire life. He knew every trail, every river, every ancient tree. But what he felt that day was different. A cold presence beneath the ground, a darkness that should not exist. The spirits of the forest spoke to him in uneasy whispers. The creature is waking. For a long moment, the guardian stood still. He had hoped this day would never come. The ancient enemy had been sealed generations before his birth. But the forest remembered, and the forest was afraid. The guardian closed his eyes. Then he gave the order. Messengers ran through the nearby villages. Signal fires were lit across the hills. Drums echoed through the valleys. The war had begun. At first, many humans did not believe the warning. The creature was only a legend, a story told to children. But legends sometimes hide terrible truths. By nightfall, the first signs appeared. Trees near the center of the forest began to rot overnight. Streams turned dark, and animals fled in massive numbers. Then the ground split open. A roar rose from the depths of the forest. It was a sound so deep and ancient that it seemed to shake the sky itself. People across the valley heard it, and in that moment, everyone understood. The legend was real, and the forest was no longer safe. Chapter 20. Flames Through the Woods. What followed became known in ancient records as the War of the Forest. It lasted many months and nearly destroyed everything. Humans built defensive camps along the forest's edge. Soldiers, hunters, and villagers all joined together, not because they wanted war, but because they had no choice. The creature did not simply awaken. It began to spread. Darkness crept outward from the forest's heart. Trees twisted into unnatural shapes. Animals became violent and strange. The forest itself seemed to turn against the people who once lived beside it. The first battles were chaos. No one knew exactly what they were fighting. Some warriors claimed they saw massive shadows moving between the trees. Others said the ground itself opened beneath their feet. Many simply disappeared. The guardian tried to guide the people. He spoke with the spirits of the forest. He studied the ancient seals. He searched for a way to stop the creature before it grew too strong. But each day, the darkness spread farther. Eventually, the humans made a terrible decision. They would burn the forest. It was the only way they believed they could stop the creature's advance. So one night, the fires began. Torches were thrown into the dry brush. Flames climbed the ancient trunks of towering trees. Smoke filled the sky. The forest burned like a sea of fire. Animals ran screaming through the woods. Branches cracked and fell. Entire hillsides glowed red beneath the flames. For a brief moment, it seemed to work. The spreading darkness slowed. The creature retreated deeper into the forest. But the cost was devastating. Much of the ancient forest was destroyed. Places that had existed for thousands of years were reduced to ash, and the spirits of the forest cried out in grief. The guardian watched the fires from a distant hill. He knew the truth. Burning the forest would never defeat the creature. It was older than the trees, older than the soil, older than humanity itself, and now it was angry. Deep within the burning woods, the creature finally emerged. The ground shattered as something enormous rose from the depths. Eyes like burning embers opened in the darkness. A body made of shadow and stone stretched across the forest floor. The creature roared, and the war entered its final stage. Chapter 21, The Final Stand. By the time the fires died down, the forest was barely recognizable. Smoke drifted across blackened land. Broken trees lay scattered like fallen giants, and the creature had grown stronger. Every step it took shook the earth. Every roar sent waves of fear across the battlefield. Human warriors fought bravely, but weapons meant little against something so ancient. Many villages had already been abandoned. The surviving people gathered behind the guardian. They all knew the same thing. If the creature was not stopped now, the entire world beyond the forest would fall next. So the guardian prepared for the final battle. He returned to the oldest temple in the forest, a place that had existed long before human settlements. Carved into the stone floor was a massive circle of ancient symbols, the same symbols Anna would one day discover. The circle of protection. It was not just a seal, it was a prison. But it required something powerful to activate it, something alive, something willing. The guardian understood what needed to be done. He stood alone in the center of the temple. Outside, the creature approached. Each step shook the ruins. The air grew colder. The darkness thickened. But the guardian did not run. He placed his hand on the ancient stone. The symbols around him began to glow. A faint green light spread across the temple floor. The spirits of the forest gathered. Wind rushed through the broken walls. Leaves swirled through the air like thousands of tiny stars. The creature reached the temple. Its massive form towered above the ruins. For a moment, the forest went silent. Guardian and monster faced each other. One ancient, one human, but both bound to the fate of the forest. The creature attacked. Shadow and stone crashed into the temple. The ground split. Columns shattered. But the guardian held his ground. The glowing circle grew brighter. The ancient symbols flared with power. And with one final act of courage, the guardian completed the seal. A wave of light exploded outward from the temple. Roots erupted from the earth. Stone pillars rose from the ground. The creature roared as the forest itself wrapped around it. The seal closed, slowly, painfully. The creature was dragged back into the depths beneath the forest, buried once again beneath layers of earth and magic. The war was over, but the victory came at a terrible cost. The guardian had given his life to power the seal. His body turned to stone within the circle. His spirit became part of the forest he had sworn to protect. And over time, the people rebuilt. Trees slowly returned. The forest healed. But the ancient temple remained hidden beneath the roots. And the seal remained in place, waiting for the day when the creature might awaken again.